Hi guys, Chris here. So this is the Cube iWork1x. It's a new tablet from them, powered by the Atom X5 Z8350, the revised Cherry Trail. So it's also got 64 gigabytes of internal storage. Currently comes with Windows 10, but there is plans to release a dual OS version of this with Android 5.1, I think it is. So let's have a look at it now in greater detail. The tablet's a two-in-one, so it comes with an optional keyboard dock here, which is made out of plastic, but it's actually quite good. It's quite firm. Typing experience on these keys are good. Quality of it, not bad at all. There are some little rubber feet here to keep the screen away from being scratched up on the keyboard here. Now, the touchpad is probably my biggest complaint about it because it does support those annoying gestures in Windows, like swiping down to minimize. So you need to do like a registry hack to actually fix that. It does have at least left and right mouse buttons in there. Double chat gestures, a little too small and not the greatest of accuracy. Besides that, the rest of the quality of the keyboard's quite good. You'll see here on the side that we do get two USB 2 ports, left and right. And docking it in is really easy. There's magnets in there, 5 pogo pin along here, and the 2 metal stays either side. This right here is the maximum angle that it will recline the screen. Now this is a design choice, of course, because the further back the screen's going to go back, the more of a counterweight that have to place in the keyboard, making it heavier. So that has a little bit of wobble in it, you can see. So if you're typing and tapping on the screen, this is very common. It wobbles a little bit, but it's actually not too bad. I've seen a lot worse, like the Pipo W1 Pro, for example. So the back of the housing of the tablet, it's made out of plastic. So the whole thing's plastic to reduce the weight, but it doesn't have hardly any flex in that design there. It's quite well made, very solid. Cube in general have one of the best build qualities when it comes to the Chinese brands that I typically review. Now on the right here, you can see a speaker grill and another one right here, along with our micro SD card slot, a full-sized USB 3 port, which is good to see. I'm not really too happy with that trend to move away and start using Type-C ports and everything. I think it's really handy to have a full-size port. Then, of course, we do have USB 2 in, that's micro USB 2, sorry, for charging, and then a micro HDMI out and 3.5mm headphone jack. Just to mention that this USB 3 port as well will power external hard drives at full USB 3 speeds. So the panel that's in there is a 1080p panel. It's IPS, good blacks, good whites. Maximum brightness I measured to be 240 lumens of brightness exactly. So it fares okay in brightly lit environments. Now, being a glass touchscreen like any tablet or mobile phone, of course, it's going to be susceptible to reflections. So ideally having it a little brighter would be nice. But 250 I find is still okay, but you can't really use it in sunlight anyway. This kind of screen would just reflect too much. So you can see the colors. These are some photos I took on a Galaxy Note 4. A little oversaturated. That is actually how the phone takes the photos there, but good reproduction. Not a bad screen at all. And the touch accuracy I found to be good. And it's also a very smooth touchscreen to use. No problems at all with things like scrolling and edge. Now to point out a few things on the tablet, we have Realtek Wireless N, so that's 2.4 GHz only, a SanDisk as the eMMC. Now I haven't seen that model before. I will show you benchmarks of that in just a second. And you see benchmarks I did actually run Geekbench 4, so single core score here and the multi-core scores slightly faster than the older previous Z8350 series. The first 300 normally gets around 750, sometimes almost up to 800, so it's a little bit faster, tiny increase in clock rate, which is almost next to nothing there. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out too was the RAM speeds. Now, when I got this, it was set to 1066 megahertz. I did go into the BIOS and change that successfully to 1600 megahertz, you can see right here, and I haven't had any problems whatsoever, no negative impact at all. Now the wireless speeds, download and both upload, tend to max out around 45 megabits per second. So these were the maximum speeds I could get out of it. Now this isn't actually too bad considering it's wireless N. My connection is up to 300 megabits per second, but I cannot get that without wireless AC, of course. Now the range of it seems good because the whole housing and everything is made out of plastic. I found that it worked really quite well from around the place I'm here. furthest away from the router still managed to get reasonably good speeds, but it does drop off, and that is normal. That happens on every single device I have tested. And what we don't normally see is SanDisk brand of eMMC. So I'll show you the speeds of that. They actually weren't too bad. So you see good 4Ks and reasonably good writes and reads there for an eMMC 4.5.1 spec. So another benchmark that I did run was Antutu 75,000. So performance, when it comes to things like websites and Edge here, very, very smooth. You can see that is really good. Good touch response. And if I just quickly load up a page that I haven't loaded before, you see that it pops in quite quick. Now, if you were to run Chrome, the story's a little different. Chrome doesn't really run too well. I was going to say crud, because it doesn't actually have that good of performance, but you see that Edge is good. So trying Chrome, I noticed that it's not as smooth, and you won't be able to stream 4K video smoothly in Chrome, but you can in Edge. So if you want to look at 4K clips, Edge is the place to be doing that there. Now things like Office Docs, Excel, and other things like that, minor kind of stuff here is what the Atoms are good at while maintaining battery life. Now I just wanted to cover quickly what I've been able to get out of the battery. So I did take a quick print screen here, just as some typical use. And you see there that I managed to get in around 2 hours of use, the battery went down there about 30%. Now I've been able to get around 6 hours runtime, which isn't bad at all. I think it's quite good, considering also that I have clocked the RAM up faster to 1600 megahertz. If you prefer to lose about 10% performance, then keep the RAM as standard, and you should be able to get around 7 hours battery life out of the 8000 milliamp hour battery that's on board. So I'm just going to do a typical bot game here that I always like to test out. So Summoner's Rift, 2 bots on the opposition, 1 on my side, and very low settings here. We'll see how it performs. So it's keeping above 30 frames per second, which is good here. So I set the resolution to 1024 by 768, so very low, and then on the lowest visual settings. You could probably tweak up the settings a little bit, but I don't want the frame rate to go below 30. But this game at least is playable, no problems running over 30 frames per second here, at least in this bot game here that I have. I can scroll around the map quite quickly. That is performing just like other Atom X5 tablets would. And I'm about to die. Asphalt Extreme, so I'm running this in 1080p. Let's see how it runs. Now if you want to improve the performance, lower the desktop resolution down to something like 720, or even just run it windowed. I can see already that there's a bit of slowdown and start. I mean, look at that. The frame rate's already dipping. I'd say below 20 frames per second. So the performance of this isn't great. It is a really demanding Windows Store title, this one. Yeah, that is just so slow at times. Look at that lag, that is so choppy. It's almost like a slideshow. So here we go, Counter-Strike. And I died straight away. 30 frames per second, just dipped down to 17. I've got it on the lower settings, 800 times 600. This is the best it can do. So this is not really good at all. And I doubt I can kill anyone with my horrible CS skills. But even with this frame rate, it's going to make things real difficult. So I wouldn't really call this game playable. Just too slow. Whee, and I got a kill. What a fluke. So after that gaming session, there you can see the temperature's got up to 84 degrees, which isn't good, but it hasn't triggered any thermal throttling. You see at the top it says no, no, no. But it's only 6 degrees away from doing so. I think the plastic build of the tablet also isn't helping. That's acting as more as an insulator there, and it's not dissipating the heat. It does get a little warm on the back just where the ports are, but nothing alarming. It's only about 30, 25 or 30 degrees to the touch, so just slightly warm there. So hopefully you could hear from that the speaker, the audio performance from it, the two loudspeakers left and right, while you get a bit of stereo separation, they don't really sound that good. They have a bit of distortion at 100% volume, and they're not really as loud as I would like. Now, this is normally the case with these cheaper, budget-orientated Chinese tablets. They always seem to skip on the speaker quality, and the speakers are really quite average on this. Luckily, the audio quality out of the 3.5mm headphone jack is quite good. It's clean, there's no static or interference on there, and it goes reasonably loud. I would still like it to be quite a few notches louder, but that seems to be always the case, that they tone that down, I think, to stop people from damaging their ears, their eardrums, or rupturing them with super loud volume. And the other thing is, it also supports microphones too. It is a 4-pole 3.5mm jack. So just to summarize here and quickly recap, I think the build quality is good despite being all plastic. It is actually well made, good fit and finish on it, and the quality of it, you can tell that is better than some other brands like the recently reviewed Pipo W1 Pro that I looked at, that this doesn't have that same finish to it. It feels a lot cheaper. This, on the other hand, is a lot better. Now, typing on the keyboard is good. It's firm. Good feedback from the keys, spaced out nicely. 11.6 inches means we have a lot of space there, but I don't like the touchpad. The touchpad just, to me, is quite poor. It does the job, but I find it annoying, especially with those gestures and things on there, so I disable that and use a mouse at most times with this. Now, the touchscreen and the screen itself is really nice. Good accuracy on it, good colors, reasonable brightness around 250 lux, and the performance slightly faster than the Z8350s, but bear in mind that they did set the RAM to 1600 megahertz, which helps over the stock setting. So all in all, it's not a bad tablet, but it just doesn't bring anything new to the game. There's no high resolution screen, nothing special, but it still gets my tick of approval for the build quality and the general performance and the screen that it has on it. And if you can pick it up for cheap, then I don't see why not to get this, unless of course you want that dual boot version, which is going to be out very soon. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you did like it, and you haven't already, why not think about subscribing to the channel, because I will have plenty more up and coming tech reviews from products out of China. Thank you so much for watching.